Crown Jewel is 17 days away, and they finally announced these matches over the past weekend, so we could finally talk about them. We knew they were going to be happening over the past few weeks. They've been building it up, but we can finally talk about it. First off, the Braun Strowman versus Tyson Fury. For those unfamiliar with Tyson Fury, they've thrown around the words lineal boxing heavyweight champion. And at that time, for those not familiar with the sweet science, the lineal championship is a championship that can technically be in all divisions. From that first world champion, John L. Sullivan, back when it was still technically bare knuckle boxing, to when it started being regulated early years later, and that during that time period, and during that time, at least in the heavyweight division, you have names like Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, and several people in between that. That basically, it's boxing's version, for those wrestling fans that aren't familiar with the sweet science, basically boxing's version of the beat a man, the beat a man, you beat the man. And in some cases, the lineal heavyweight champion doesn't actually have to hold a championship. In some cases, they may not even be active. In Tyson's case, he hasn't been active, I think, since in September. Which is kind of, I was thinking it was going to be a lot different. But during that time frame, he held the WBA super heavyweight title, the IBF title, the IBO title, the WBO and IBO, and probably would have won the WBC heavyweight title if it wasn't for that split decision with Deontay Wilder around last year, which was a very controversial split decision, honestly. But you know what? It is what it is. And this guy is like fucking probably taller than Braun. At least it looked like he was taller than Braun, which many people... I mean, the guy's fucking 6'9", has to be, just by looking at him, has to be towards that 300-pound mark, if not a little leaner. And I haven't seen the guy in a while personally, but from what I have seen of him in the boxing ring, the guy has quick hands, the guy can move for his size, which Braun can do as well. And honestly, this guy has about 30 fights, one being that draw, the rest 29 wins, 9 knockouts. 20 knockouts, 9 decisions, but those knockouts are going to be the problem here for Braun. Because Braun, as much as I have been Braun has been my guy, but I don't know. Because this reminds me of Big Show and Mayweather. And for those that remember that, you know how this will more than likely go down. Unlike the Mayweather Big Show match, there are rules to this match as far as we can tell. So it won't be fucking no DQ, last man standing, whatever the fuck. It won't be that. Which a last man standing match technically would be in Fury's favor, technically, because it's in Fury like a boxing match, because if you can't get up, you can't win. It's that simple. But I don't know if they'll go that route. They might. It really depends on the Saudi Arabian government and how they would regulate this, because this is a world caliber fighter. This is a multi-time world champion. I don't know how the Saudi Arabian government would regulate this if they were to regulate it. And that's the problem with this thing. They might just have Braun lose and just go for it. Because if you're going to have a real fight, Tyson's going to fucking win. But if you're doing the WWE style, Braun has a chance. But knowing how WWE books and knowing how Vince has his boxing boner, especially with his grandfather being originally a boxing promoter. Well, technically, it would be his great-grandfather, so Vince Sr., technically, if we're really talking about that. So, in that case alone, Fury would win this match. But I would hope this would be a rebuilding period for Braun. I don't know if they'll do it, but I will pick Fury just because it more than likely will happen. On the other side of the coin, we kind of get a rematch from UFC, 210? Fucking UFC something. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember the moment when Cain Velasquez knocked out Brock Lesnar. It was a moment that inadvertently started the end of The Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania. Because you had that fight later on. God, it's hard going back to this. You had the other fight after that. I want to say, God, I want to say it was one of the Black Zillions, but I'm not 100% sure. Nonetheless, in fairness of Brock at that time, this was around 2010 when this happened, Brock was coming off the fucking diverticulitis, which for anyone that has ever had that, to survive it shows how tough Brock is. We know how tough Brock is in general, but that is a crippling disease that could cripple any man, let alone someone like Brock Lesnar. That would kill a normal man, quite frankly. But, Brock wasn't 100% in that fight. I can tell that for sure. He wasn't there mentally as far as I can remember. But this is, again, rebuilding history somewhat because I don't know what they'll do. Especially with Cain Velasquez actually doing a match in AAA a few months ago for Triple Mania, I think about 2 months ago now. And I do apologize on that. The Brock fight was, if I can actually fucking see, was 121. Not 210, it was 121. Just for housekeeping sake there. But nonetheless, I don't know. And this is basically kind of doing the feud for Rey Mysterio because Rey's out injured. I don't think we'd see Brock and Rey, but I think this is the replacement. I don't know. This is for the WWE Championship, by the way, but, I don't know what they'll do. I really don't. And I feel that if Cain Velasquez is signed, they may do it. But with Fox wanting Brock as their champion, you clearly saw it a couple weeks ago with Brock going and winning the championship in less than 10 seconds, maybe 5, maybe between 5 and 10. I don't want to say it was 5 seconds, but it felt like it. But this is, again, the Saudis getting the attraction of Brock Lesnar. And to get that real fight feel for both of these matches, quite frankly, is great. It shows the diversity that we can do and actually be a legitimate sport sometimes. But as far as this match goes, I don't really know. I'm going to pick Brock just because I don't think they will take the hell off him that quick. But then again, they did that with Seth Rollins. So I don't know. Nonetheless, this will be a great night. I probably won't watch it because my personal opinion with the fucking Saudis and their fucking practices and not using the women is a totally different topic. But if you're going to watch it, it's a great night for wrestling. A different time change, as always with these Saudi shows, but we'll see what happens from here.